I used to think that the hardest part of losing someone was the moment they left. I was wrong. The hardest part came later, when the noise stopped, when the shock wore off, when there was no one left to blame but myself. At first, I told myself I was fine. That's what everyone does. I went to work. I answered emails. I nodded when people spoke to me. I even smiled when it felt expected. From the outside, nothing had changed. But inside, something had collapsed quietly, like a building whose foundation had been rotting for years. I started noticing things I had ignored before. The way the house sounded different without her. Not quieter, emptier. Every step echoed longer than it should have. Every room felt unfinished, like a thought that never reached the end of a sentence. I would open the fridge and stand there too long, not because I was hungry, but because I forgot what I was looking for. That happened a lot. Forgetting why I walked into a room, forgetting what day it was, forgetting who I was supposed to be without her. I replayed our last months together over and over, like a detective searching for a missed clue. The conversations that felt normal at the time now sounded hollow. The moments I thought were peaceful were actually just quiet surrender. We didn't fight because we didn't care enough to fight. That realization hit me one night so hard I had to sit down on the kitchen floor just to breathe through it. I realized something else too, something uncomfortable. I hadn't really been present in my own life. I was there physically, but mentally I was always somewhere else. Planning, worrying, escaping. I loved the idea of stability more than the work of connection. I thought providing was the same as participating. I thought being reliable was enough to be loved. It wasn't. And the worst part? She tried to tell me. Not directly, not dramatically, but in the way people do when they're tired. With shorter sentences, with less eye contact, with sighs that linger too long. I saw those signs. I just convinced myself they didn't mean what they clearly meant. One night, weeks after she left, I found one of her old coffee mugs in the back of a cabinet. It had a small crack along the handle. I remembered her saying once that she should throw it away, and I told her it was fine, that it still worked. Holding it there, alone in the kitchen, I finally understood how much damage can exist long before something completely breaks. That was the moment I stopped asking, why did she leave? And started asking, why did I stop showing up? The answer wasn't simple. It never is. It was fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of being inadequate. Fear that if I slowed down long enough to really look at myself, I wouldn't like what I saw. So I stayed busy, distracted, emotionally unavailable while telling myself I was just tired. There were nights I wanted to call her, not to fix things, not even to get her back, just to hear a familiar voice say my name. But I didn't, because deep down, I knew that reaching out then wouldn't be love. It would be loneliness asking for relief. Instead, I started sitting with the discomfort. No music, no TV, no phone, just me and the thoughts I had been avoiding for years. It was brutal. Memories surfaced that I had buried. Regrets I never allowed myself to name. Patterns I could no longer pretend were accidents. I saw how often I chose comfort over honesty, silence over vulnerability, how I expected intimacy to survive without maintenance, how I waited to be understood instead of learning how to express myself. And slowly, painfully, something shifted. I stopped seeing myself as the victim of her leaving and started seeing myself as a participant in the ending. That didn't make the loss easier, but it made it meaningful. It gave the pain somewhere to go instead of just bouncing around inside me. One morning, while walking alone before sunrise, it hit me. This wasn't just about her. It never was. It was about the life I had been sleepwalking through, about the parts of myself I postponed until later, about the conversations I avoided because they were uncomfortable, about the version of me that settled instead of grew. Losing her didn't destroy me. It exposed me. And exposure hurts. But it also heals. I'm not going to pretend everything suddenly got better. It didn't. Healing wasn't a straight line. Some days I felt strong. Other days I felt like I was back at the beginning, staring at the door she walked through. But even on the bad days, something was different. I was awake. I started choosing presence over protection, honesty over avoidance. I learned that love isn't something you maintain by holding still. It's something you maintain by moving toward the other person again and again, even when it's uncomfortable. I don't know where she is now. I don't know if she's happy. And for the first time, don't feel the need to know. What I do know is this: the man she left is not the man telling this story. If you're listening to this and it feels too close, if you recognize yourself in the quiet, in the distance, in the slow drifting apart, I want you to understand something. Endings like this aren't punishments. They're invitations. Painful ones, unwanted ones, but invitations nonetheless. An invitation to stop running, to stop pretending, to finally ask yourself who you are when love is no longer cushioning your identity. My wife left me.